Commercial demolition moves with a specific kind of violent urgency. When a site is earmarked for redevelopment, every idle day costs the owners money. They need crews on the ground tearing it down as fast as possible. Take the old Mercy nightclub, located on the narrow, historic streets of Norwich. A property developer bought the site and needed it gutted to make way for new apartments. The developer, J.V. Holmes, reached out to a local contractor named Steve Fincham. After a quick site visit to size up the concrete staircases and steel beams, Fincham quoted them a fixed price, £248,000. Normally, a £250,000 project triggers a massive wave of bureaucracy. You'd expect 30-page subcontracts outlining indemnity clauses and ironclad wet signatures before anyone even touches a sledgehammer. But this deal bypassed the paperwork entirely. Instead of a boardroom, the terms for this entire demolition project were hammered out and finalized through a few casual text messages on WhatsApp. The informal deal worked to get the excavators on site, but when the dust settled and it was time to actually pay those six-figure invoices, a massive legal battle erupted over whether a few text messages could actually hold up in court. On May 17, 2023, Fincham texted the developer's CEO asking point-blank, "Is the job mine, mate?" 3.5 hours later, the CEO replied with a single word, "Yes." They quickly settled on the schedule. Fincham typed, "Are you saying every 28 or 30 days from invoice?" The CEO replied, "Okay." With those few characters, the scope, the price, and the payment timeline were legally set. 9 days later, the developer's quantity surveyor sent Fincham an email containing a zip file. Inside was a dense, short-form subcontract packed with rigid payment schedules, retention clauses, and liquidated damages for delays. Fincham never replied to that email. On May 30th, his crew rolled onto the site and started smashing concrete. The developer assumed that by starting the work, Fincham had legally accepted all the new, unseen terms buried in that zip file. As the work progressed, Fincham followed the schedule he'd agreed to on his phone. He typed up basic, one-page invoices for the work completed, including one for £100,000, and sent them over. This maneuver is a common hazard in construction. Corporate developers often introduce complex, delayed paperwork after a project is already moving, relying on the fact that contractors are too busy on site to argue over the fine print. When the invoices landed, the developer stopped the cash flow. They claimed Fincham was billing them too frequently, and that his simple, typed-up invoices were invalid because they didn't follow their corporate rules. To justify withholding over £125,000, the developer turned to the Housing Grants, Construction and Regeneration Act of 1996. This is the primary UK law regulating how payments move through construction projects. This chart shows the developer's internal payment schedule. Look at the interim valuation date column. The contract required Fincham to submit bills on these exact predetermined dates. Missing one of these precise dates gives a developer the legal right to void a payment application entirely. They argued that because Fincham didn't follow this specific calendar, they didn't owe him a penny yet. Essentially, the developer claimed that a casual exchange about getting paid in 30 days meant nothing compared to this complex web of statutory rules and their formal subcontract. The developer was attempting to use the British legal system to delete a £250,000 digital handshake, locking Fincham out of his money on a minor technicality. The dispute moved from the rubble of the nightclub to the High Court in London. It landed in the Technology and Construction Court, where a judge had to decide which agreement held power, the texts or the 30-page contract. The judge looked at the evidence and threw out the developer's subcontract. Because the price and the basic terms were already agreed upon via WhatsApp on May 17th, the deal was already locked. Sending an email 9 days later didn't change the contract. While the texts were missing some legal details, the judge used a government safety net called the Scheme for Construction Contracts. It's designed to automatically fill in the gaps of any valid construction deal, ensuring contractors get paid even with informal paperwork. With the legal gaps filled, the verdict was clear. Fincham's simple invoices were valid, and the court ordered the developer to pay the outstanding balance of over £137,000, plus the court costs. By trying to use strict legal frameworks to avoid a bill, the developer found themselves trapped by those exact same laws. The legal system they tried to weaponize ended up securing the contractor's money. The British High Court prioritizes clear, objective intent over fancy corporate stationery. When two parties agree to a job and type "OK, mate" on a phone, that digital handshake carries the exact same weight as a multi-million-pound signature.